Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Now, the merits and the demerits of proportional representation. A voting system in which the share of seats a party wins matches the share of votes it receives. Proportional representation, the advantages that is the merits and the demerits. It is fair each party gets the same percentage of MPs as votes and small parties get better representation. All votes are important in many of other countries, example Italy and Ireland. And demerits can be complicated to understand and organize and often leads to coalition government as no party has a majority. Nobody has voted for a coalition and smaller parties get to support can determine who is in coalition government and representatives may not have a direct link with their constitution. Now, what is the advantage of proportionate representation translating a votes to seats can avoid unfair results that can arise in FPTP systems and it avoids the winning governors as votes are directly translated into seats. It encourages or requires parties to formulate policy lists which can be voted upon thus clarifying ideology and policy. And PR does not allow votes to be wasted, so it is democracy in a pure form that FCTP and the disadvantages. PR can give a disproportionate amount of power to minority parties, and the accountability could be the lost with a coalition government, and voters lose the power to throw a party out because of the coalition. And it can be difficult for voters and the electoral administration to implement complex rules of the system. And what are the merits and demerits of proportional representation? We have discussed a lot about. Now let's move to FPTP and PR. That means the first past post system and the proportional representation. What is the difference? Countries divided into separate geographical constitution on voting districts. That means first point is your constituency. Here the entire country is treated as single constituency. Only one representative can be elected. Second point is your representative. First one was constituency, and here each constituency elects several representatives. Here only one candidate can win. That means the winner. First point is winner, and here proportional votes held by the different parties. Then the person elected may not be represented in the majority of the voters in the constituency more than half of the 50%, and here it is electoral quota. The major parties are more than seats, then their share of votes and all parties shall be proportionally represented in the parliament. And a party that gains 45% of the votes would win exactly. And the system increases the chances of single party gaining a parliamentary majority. An example is Britain, USA and India. And here governments are usually based on a coalition of two or more parties. Example, proportional representation system are Israel and the Netherlands. Now list of reserve constituencies, reservation of constituencies and joint electorates. What is the meaning of reserve constituency? In India, some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the SCs and STs. In SC reserve constituency, only someone who belongs to scheduled caste can stand for election. And similarly, those who are belong to the scheduled tribes can stand for election. Reservation of constituencies. The Constitution of India abolished communal representation but seats are reserved for the SCs and STs. And under Indian Council Act 1909, the British government introduced a system of communal electorates, separate electorates in India, and the Act provided for separate representation of Muslim community at the centre as well as provincial legislature. The Government of India Act 1919 extended the privilege to other communities as well, namely the Sikhs, the Anglo-Indians, Europeans and the Indian Christians. And this was all done in order to work as a policy of divide and rule, and community was set against community, and the growth of a healthy political system became impossible. And that is the reason why makers of the Constitution of India rejected the system of separate electorates. Reservation of the joint electorate. Now, in a reserve constituency, a person belonging to SCs or ST tribes can contest an election, although there are joint electorates for electing them. In other words, all voters in the constituency vote to elect their representative, whether it is a general constituency or reserve one. We needed a quota for women also, but the women's reservation bill has not been become a law yet. And in all the Panchayati Raj bodies and municipal institutions, seats are reserved for SCs and STs in proportion to their population. Why reservation? Why it was done? What was the requirement? It was just made for SCs or STs in parliament and legislature to enable them to compete, so that they can also feel as just like other communities, that they can also compete with those who have a better socio-economic background. And formation and delimitation of constituency is the decision about the formation and delimitation of constituencies taken by the Delimitation Commission. And an Amendment Act 2002 provided that no fresh readjustment and constituencies would be for SCs and STs. NRI voting rights. When we all vote, know your voting rights. Yes, if you are when polls are supposed to close, stay in line and you have the right to vote. Right to vote and the right to contest an election. Who has that? Who has that right? The right to vote and be elected in genuine periodic election is intrinsically linked to a number of other human rights, the enjoyment of which is crucial to a meaningful electoral process. These prerequisites lies and include the right to freedom from discrimination, the right to freedom of opinion and expression, the freedom of association and of assembly, and the right to free movement. This gives the right to individual to vote, and needless to say, it is a right and not a privilege. And this right is closely connected to the right to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, as it guarantees respect for the pluralism of opinion in a democratic society. The right to vote is not absolute. It means there are certain conditions can be imposed to make the result limited, and conditions can be imposed to long pursue a legitimate aim and are proportionate in the free expression to the opinion of the choosing the legislature. Now, right to vote and right to contest the election. Who have the right to vote universal adult franchise? The Democrats believe that the right to vote is the fundamental right of each individual. The doctrine of equality, such as that neither sex nor property, neither race or religion, should prevent the citizen. And the Constitution of India gives voting right to every person who is a citizen of India and is not otherwise disqualified under any law in 1980. The Constitution First Amendment Act reduced and voting age from 21 to 18 years, and the argument advanced for lowering the voting age that established enfranchisement of youth shall make them more sensible, more creative. And who has the right to contest an election as well? A citizen who is a voter can also contest an election if he is 25 years old, and the case of Lok Sabha, the state assembly, and not less than 30 years. And in case of Rajya Sabha or state legislature council election, the disqualification for membership are holding an office of profit and unsoundness of mind or being otherwise disqualified under any law.